Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I am breaking down the election results for the state of Virginia in the 2025 elections. And if you watched the live stream last night that I did breaking all these down in real time, I really appreciate you watching that. We got a ton of views on that video and it was a lot of fun doing it, so thank you for watching that. If you did not, what happened last night was the Democrats essentially had the best night they possibly could have in the state of Virginia. Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat candidate, won the governor's race over the Republican Winsome Earle-Sears by over 15 points, 57.5% to 42.3, a 15.2% win. Using the rating scale that I do, that is a safe Democratic win for Abigail Spanberger in the one-time Republican stronghold state of Virginia. A absolutely staggering performance for the Democrats, a massive win. So I'm going to be going into the results on this one as well and breaking it all down. But first, I also want to go over how some of the other down ballot races voted in Virginia as well. The Attorney General's race. This was the belle of the ball for the Democrats. This was the one the polling showed to be the tightest. It actually showed the Republican incumbent Attorney General Jason Miyares leading in the final few days in the polling averages. The last few polls showed a very tight race, and J. Jones maybe started to even pull ahead in two of the final polls, but Miyares overall still had a narrow lead. J. Jones ultimately ends up winning this race 53.1% to Miyares' 46.5%. Essentially, enough Democrats turned out to vote for governor and down ballot voted straight Democrat with Attorney General and Lieutenant Governor, enough for J. Jones, despite the scandal that he had, to hold on and win this race by a pretty comfortable margin, 53 to 46. You're looking at around a 7 to 8 point win here in this race, and it was a very big win for J. Jones over Jason Miyares, even though some of the margins in the counties were a little bit closer. I'll get into that in just a sec as well. On the lieutenant governor's race, the one that of the three has kind of been the most quiet, kind of kept under the radar a little bit, the Democrat Ghazala Hashmi defeated the Republican John Reid 55.6 to 44.2, overall an 11.4% victory for the Democrat over the Republican. So on the whole, all three of the top races in Virginia voted for the Democratic candidates and voted for them by, at the lowest, a likely Democratic margin. As for the House of Delegates, that was also up for grabs, and the Democrats took back control of the House of Delegates, currently having 61 Democrats, 31 Republicans, with still a handful of seats left to call. We still have a few that we're waiting on here, but Democrats now hold the governorship, the state senate, and the House of Delegates, giving them a very large legislature, I would say, ability to govern and such in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Okay, so that's how they all went. How did this happen? Well, the polling going into this race showed it was probably going to be a Democratic win by a very large margin. The final polls showed Abigail Spanberger on average leading by about 9.7%, so right around a 10-point victory. But there was still a sizable amount of other undecided voters left out there. Roughly around 5% of voters still were considered other or undecided. And look at these numbers. Winsome-Sears had 42.8% according to the polling average, 42.8. Depending on which one you're looking at, the lowest she went was 42.4% in 50 plus 1. Ultimately, she ended up getting 42.3. So at the lowest end of the polling averages, she essentially got that and did not gain 1% or 0.1% of those undecided third party, not sure who they're going to vote for voters. They pretty much all broke for Abigail Spanberger, getting her to 57.5% of the vote in this race. Spanberger had a massive day at the governor level. And as the votes came in Virginia, the biggest, I would say, troubling sign for Winsome-Sears and biggest sign that Abigail Spanberger was going to go on and win by a lot was Loudoun County. Loudoun County watched it come in at real time. At one point, it was 63 to 37, and then it went to 64-35. Even still, roughly a 29-point victory in Loudoun County for a Democrat over a Republican is essentially unheard of. And it probably is unheard of in Loudoun County. Just to give you an idea of how this race voted, in 2021, when Glenn Youngkin defeated Terry McAuliffe in the governor's race, Loudoun County voted 11 points for McAuliffe over Youngkin, 11. Now, in 2017, the last time there was a Democrat governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam defeated the Republican Ed Gillespie by 8.9% statewide. Based on how this election went, Ed Gillespie is looking pretty good after this one. Loudoun County voted for Ralph Northam by 20 points, which at the time was seen as a Democratic blowout. A 20-point win there. And now in this election, you got to add another 9 points to that. 29-point win in Loudoun County, the former competitive suburb that just 4 years ago was an 11-point Democratic win. Went up 18 points in just 4 years. Massive, massive for Abigail Spanberger. And then for Prince William County, another very important county in the DC suburbs, 67 to 33. What's that? That is about a 34-point win. Back in 2021, it was a 15-point win. In 2017, it was a 22-point win. So another 12 points from what it was in 2017. Fairfax was about a 36-point win in 2017. Guess what it was tonight? 73-26. Overall, about, let's see, quick math here, that would be roughly about 47 points in Fairfax County. Abigail Spanberger did not beat Winsome-Sears in the DC main county suburbs of Loudoun, Prince William, and Fairfax. That's not even talking about Arlington, which voted very heavily blue, in Alexandria as well. She did not beat Earle-Sears here. She did not crush Winsome-Sears in these three counties. She blew her out of the water by tremendous proportions in the DC suburbs. The margins that we have not even seen a Democrat do yet at the governor level in the Commonwealth of Virginia. One that I did see that was a very good point online that maybe potentially could have matched these margins was what Tim Kaine did back in 2018, where he faced off against Republican Corey Stewart. He won by 16 points in this race. This may be the only possible election where there was a DC suburb margins that were similar to this governor's race. So essentially, Winsome-Sears' performance was on par with one of the worst Republican candidates for Senate that Virginia, the GOP, has ever put up. And that's how this race ended up going. Spanberger crushed Winsome-Sears here. Another key area, I talked about Virginia Beach, but first, I want to talk about Richmond. Because Richmond, in the build-up to this race, I didn't get as much talked about as the Virginia Beach area. But Richmond and Henrico County voted 70-30 for Spanberger over Sears. 70-30. 2021, it voted by 18 points. Only an 18-point win for McAuliffe over Youngkin. It was a 40-point win this time around. But that's not even the main county I want to point out. Chesterfield County, very close suburban county, voted for Youngkin over McAuliffe by 51.8 to 47.4. Roughly about 4.4% win for the Republican. In 2017, Ed Gillespie defeated Ralph Northam very narrowly in Chesterfield County, 49.6 to 49.3. This time around, Abigail Spanberger won Chesterfield County, and not by a little bit. She won at 59 to 41. This Republican toss-up county in 2017, when their GOP lost by 9 points, voted for Spanberger 59 to 41. And you see Charles City, another small area, voting blue. Surrey County, small, voting blue. Sussex voting blue. Greensville voting blue. And then we come down to the Virginia Beach area, with Suffolk voting 61-39, Portsmouth, Norfolk being heavily Democratic, Virginia Beach, and Chesapeake. In the build-up, I said and made it very clear, if Virginia Beach and Chesapeake are voting blue, that is a very big sign that Winsome-Sears is in trouble. And boy, did they. Virginia Beach voted for Abigail Spanberger over Winsome-Sears 55 to 45, a 10-point Democrat win. In 2021, it voted for Glenn Youngkin by 8 points. 8 points. An 18-point swing towards the Democrats from 2021 to 2017, or from 2021 to 2025. In 2017, it voted for 5 points for Ralph Northam, 51.9, 46.9, a 5-point win. It doubled in 2025 into being a safe Democratic win at the governor's race. Chesapeake voting 56-43, a 13-point win. That one in 2021 was around a 6-point GOP win. 2017 was about a 8-point Democrat win. The governor's level was an absolute shellacking, blowout, masterclass of a Democratic win for Abigail Spanberger. But it goes even more interesting than that, because down ballot, the Attorney General's race, Jay Jones put on a pretty strong show himself. He was supposed to, according to the polls, narrowly lose this race, but he ended up winning 53.1 to 46.5. Now, this race is very interesting because a lot of the night, Jason Miyares was actually, he did outperform Winsome Sears and John Reid, but he was doing it by a pretty decent margin. He was leading Virginia Beach for most of the night. He was leading in Chesapeake for most of the night. Now, ultimately, though, Jay Jones ended up winning very narrowly here, 50.2 to 49.5, 52 to 47. Now, even though it was very close, the same philosophy carries, which is if you're seeing Virginia Beach and Chesapeake going blue, the Republican is not winning this race. That means if they're losing these key suburban areas, where the Virginia Beach County overall, which is Virginia Beach and got some suburban counties as well, if this area is going blue, that means a lot of less red parts of the state, like the DC suburbs, are also going blue by a very heavy margin. Now, Miyares, for a lot of the night, was running ahead in Chesapeake and Virginia Beach enough to keep this race really competitive. Until more votes came in, the last 20% or so, 80% in, with 20% to go, really started to break for Jay Jones. Virginia Beach comes in blue, very narrowly, Chesapeake comes in blue, and then we have the DC suburbs, where Jay Jones won Loudoun County by 19. He won Prince William, 63-37, was at about 26 points, and then Fairfax, about 68-31, 37 points. Now, these margins are more in line with what we saw Ralph Northern versus Eddie Gillespie be in 2017. Those are more the margins that added up. But again, this was supposed to be the race where Jason Miyares was supposed to win. He was leading by 1 point in the polls. And Jay Jones ends up beating him 53-46, around a 7-point victory in this race. Large reason being the Democrat turnout in Loudoun, Prince William, and Fairfax was way too much for any Republican to survive in this race. The Democratic vote machine, getting the Democrats out in these 3 counties, put the race away. And Virginia Beach and Chesapeake being Democratic wins was really just icing on the cake in the Attorney General's race. And for Lieutenant Governor, there's not really too much to add. It was sort of like a mix between the Attorney General and Governor's race. Loudoun, 62-38 blue, 65-35 in Prince William, and 71-28 in Fairfax. All 3 were solid Democratic wins. Virginia Beach voted blue 53-47, Chesapeake 54-46. A lot of the same stuff said in the governor's race essentially being said again in this one. The shock of the night for me in Virginia was twofold. I wasn't super shocked that Jay Jones was able to pull off the upset and win this race. The final polls in the last day of the race showed 2 polls that were tied, 2 polls that had Jay Jones up 2. And in the in the prediction video I did for this race, I did give it to Miyares by 1 point, but I said in the poll that Miyares was up 47-45. There's a lot of undecided vote left out there that if they all break for Jay Jones, there's enough math for him to easily win this race. Now, Jason Miyares, he was only getting 47%. I said that was a concern for that same reason. Ultimately, Miyares goes down about half percentage point from the polling, and Jay Jones wins pretty much every undecided vote, making it a 53.1 to 46.5. So the margin in which Jay Jones won was definitely a surprise to me, but the overall margin that surprised me the most was, man, how much the Democrats won by. I did not have Abigail Spanberger winning the governor's race by 15 points. No way. I thought she could win by 9, 10, maybe even at best 11. She won by 15 points over the Republican lieutenant governor who just 4 years ago won a very close race for lieutenant governor. It was an absolute Democratic blowout in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the Democrats have been rewarded with a governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and House of Delegates, all straight Democrat ticket winning in the Commonwealth of Virginia. A massive, massive wave night for the Democrats, and one that I'm sure they're going to want to parlay into a 2026 midterm election, one where there's already chatter about will the Democrats try and redraw the congressional map in Virginia, specifically trying to target out a few very competitive House seats, like with Jen Kiggins' Virginia 2. That's going to be a very popular target. Virginia 1 with Rob Whitman. I'm sure the Democrats would love to try and draw his race out and then maybe try and get one of Virginia 5 or Virginia 6 out. Maybe they solidify those races and draw out Virginia 1, Virginia 2. That can net the Democrats at least 2 districts in Virginia if they can do that. So the results from 2025 speak for themselves. The Democrats had a massive blowout win, and that could have very important ramifications for 2026. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did. Again, if you watched the live stream last night, thank you so much for doing so. It was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I got to do it this year. I know I had some audio issues in the beginning, but I'm glad it all worked out and everyone was able to join me for the live stream. I also am recapping the New Jersey governor's race and the New York City mayoral race on my channel as well. So once those are all up, make sure to go check those out. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.